request help from one of my colleagues to send me live. Thank you for your patience. To our pro learners, I've sent the invite. Please join. I hope you all can hear me.
Yes, sir, we can.
Great, thank you. Thank you for waiting. I had to reboot Zoom, basically. Right. We'll just wait for another minute. So the topic for today is punctuations. Okay, punctuations are extremely important. The basics ones are, the regular ones are pretty common. We understand the usage. Sometimes there are some punctuations that we get confused with. So let's discuss the punctuations for today. Okay. Before
So actually, why do we need punctuation, sir? Why do we need?
You need the punctuations to frame or convey the meaning, right, of a particular sentence, because without the punctuations, the meanings will not be clear of the meaning of a sentence, or grammatically you can make errors if the punctuations are not right, used in the right manner rather. You're welcome. Where do you put the comma? Where do you put the semicolon? Where do you put the hyphen? Kind of changes the meaning of a given text.
I only know about 3 to 4 punctuation marks, sir. Full stop, question mark, comma. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, I need to learn more.
So hyphen and
Semicolon.
Exclamation mark, semicolon. Yes, exactly. We will discuss. Just give me a minute.
Sir, I only asked you in one class, means to explain this topic. Luckily,
it's there today. Yeah, absolutely.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Abhay. Just give me a minute. I can see some names on the chat, so just waiting for them to join. Okay, guys, please join. I've sent the invite again. Okay. Let's follow the order. It'll be easier for me.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Okay, Z, go ahead. Read the first slide. Z, you're on mute. Go ahead, unmute and read the first slide.
Sir, for the first time we are doing this topic, sir. We never came across this topic in any class.
I've done this before once, but it's been a while. I think last year. Yeah, I've done the punctuations topic once. I remember. But,
yes, sir.
Yeah, but probably that was last.
Before this topic has done, sir.
Once, yes, but yeah, it's been a while, so definitely not recently. But this is one of the topics that I've done. I remember.
Yes,
Yes, go ahead, Z. Read the first slide.
Yes,
You are on mute. Yeah.
We put a period, full stop in the end of the sentence. Example, he is an American. We put a question mark at the end of the question. For example, do you know me? However, we put a period at the end of an indirect question. We wonder if he knows me.
Good. So full stop, we understand basically is the end of a particular sentence, right? So whenever your thought is conveyed, okay, that particular statement is conveyed, we put a full stop so as to convey the meaning in its entirety, right? All right. So full stop is the most common one. I don't think we need to discuss much of that. Question mark again is similar. Question mark we know is probably the easiest of the punctuations, where you ask a question mark. When you ask a question, you put a question mark at the end of the sentence. However, the only thing sometimes it gets tricky is when you have embedded questions, right? Which may or may not have which you don't need a question mark. What is an embedded question? Embedded
Indirect
statements.
question, sir.
Yes.
Indirect
Sorry?
question.
No, I'm asking
Embedded
about
question
embedded.
means indirect question.
Yeah, give me an example.
Yes, sir. Direct question is where is library? Indirect question
Where
means
is the library?
that is direct question, sir. Embedded question means can you tell me where the library is?
Yeah, very good. Excellent. Yes. Can you tell me where the library is? Yes, very good. So embedded question is a question that is included inside another question or statement. Okay. So these are common after like the introductory phrases, I wonder, could you, like the example that he gave, I wonder if you could tell me where the library is. Okay. So here in this case, you don't need a question mark because it's a statement that you're making. Okay. You're wondering, you are wondering, there's an introductory phrase, and then you are asking a question, but it's not like a direct question. So direct question, we have the question mark. Of course, in embedded questions, we do not use the question mark. Anyone has any question about this?
Sir, can we say that embedded questions are used to express politeness, like in a polite way we ask?
You can ask a polite question in a direct manner as well. If you just add some pleasantries like, could you please tell me where's the library, or may I know where the library? Can you please tell me where the library is? You can ask question in a polite manner with the question mark as well. That's fine. Embedded question is just it's basically a statement. So that's why it has a introductory phrase like, could you, I wonder, that kind of thing. But yes, one is a direct question, one is an embedded. So polite is the manner in which you ask. That depends. Anyone has any question about the punctuation mark, question mark? Okay. And then there is however, we put a period at the end of an indirect question. This is exactly what we just discussed. I wonder if he knows. Okay. Here in this is an embedded one. Here you don't need to use a question mark because I wonder if he knows. Okay. If this was supposed to be a direct question, it would have been, does he know? Okay. Does he know? Then there is a direct question. Okay. So indirect question, you don't need to use the question mark. So full stop and question mark are probably the most common ones that we use regularly. So let's move to the next one. Okay. Abhay, go ahead, read the next slide.
Yes, sir. We must put a comma between items in a list. For example, he was an excellent singer, dancer, and photographer. We often put a comma before or and or but when we add a clause. Example, he was an excellent singer, dancer, and photographer, but he never became famous.
Excellent.
Yes, sir.
So comma is between items in a list. That's the most common thing. Like, he was an excellent singer, dancer, and photographer. So here in this case, if it was just two things, he was an excellent singer and dancer, then you don't need to use a comma. Of course, there's more than two things, right? Here in this case, that's when you use a comma. There is also the other usage, which we'll continue to discuss. But here, the second part states we often put a comma before or and or but when we add a clause. Okay, when we add a particular clause, clause is can be a statement in itself. So he was an excellent singer, dancer, and photographer. This is one clause. Okay. Second clause is what? But he never became famous, right? So that's the two clause. You're in this case, so you're breaking the thought basically. So one thought is conveyed in the first part of the sentence, which is he was an excellent singer, dancer, and photographer, comma, but he never became famous. Okay, so there are two clauses here. So whenever there is the two clauses here, you can use the comma here. Comma sometimes can become a little tricky to use, but it's just, if you just keep it simple and understand the fact that it's about the clauses, about different items in a list, okay, then you understand. Now, at the end of this first sentence, after and, you don't need a comma, right? Both sentences, in fact. But when you are introducing another clause, which is he never became a famous, you use a comma. Why? Because that's another chain of thought that you are expressing. We'll discuss about the commas more because the next slide also has that. Okay, let's continue. Utpal, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Right.
Can I read this, sir?
1 second, I will move to the next slide, then you can read. Yes, you can read the first part till understood it. Okay.
Okay, sir. Ram, who is an engineer, works with me. Use a comma before and after a clause that being with who
Begins.
begins with who, which, or whom, and that adds extra and non essentials information to information to a sentence. Here, Ram being an engineer is extra information. Even if the sentence was Ram works with me, we would have understood it.
Good, thank you. Pratap, please continue. Read the next part of the sentence.
यस मैम ये बीच वाले सर
वहां से कंटिन्यू कीजिए जहां उन्होंने स्टॉप किया. अंडरस्टूड के आगे.
अच्छा
Exception example.
अंडरस्टूड थैंक यू सर बोथ ऑफ देम एक्सप्रेशन एग्जांपल
Exception.
देयर आर अ नंबर ऑफ कॉलेजेस exception example there are a number of colleges with are fulfilling their welfare duties admirably. Expression of the rule.
Exception.
Don't use a comma
Pratap.
if the
Pratap, 1 second. आराम से पढ़िए. Clearly पढ़िए.
Expression.
Expression नहीं है, वो word है exception.
Exception to the rule.
Yeah.
Don't use a comma if the clause beginning with who, comma, which, comma, or whom is necessary to understand the meaning of the sentence. For example, there are a number of colleges which are fulfilling their welfare duties admirably. Here, comma, just saying there are a number of colleges makes the sentence incomplete.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so here we are talking about the clauses. First, we understand the basic, of the basics of the clauses. Basically, clause is what? Is a group of words that contains subject and a verb that have a relationship, right? That is a basic thing. That is the basic thing. That is a clause which contains a group of words that contain a subject and a verb that have a relationship. Okay. So basically, what it basically means is that it conveys, a clause conveys information about what the subject is doing or what the subject is. Okay. Subject क्या है और क्या कर रहा है ये बताता है clause basically, right? So that's the basic part of clauses. Okay. So rather than a random grouping of words, that's not the case here. Here there is a special reason, there is a specific purpose, is what? That the relationship is very important. Why? Because the clause conveys information about what the subject is doing or saying, or what the subject is. Okay. He is a teacher, she is a dancer, for example. Okay. So the clauses express an action or a state of being and can also function as independent, as in a sentence, meaning that one particular clause can be a complete sentence in itself. Okay. What are the different types of clauses? Anyone?
Yes, sir. A dependent clause and an independent clause.
So what is an independent clause?
So independent clause and dependent clause both have subject and verb, but whereas independent clause has complete meaning in it, whereas the dependent clause does not have complete meaning in it. It requires independent clause to make it complete.
Yeah, very good. So, for example, if I make a sentence stating that I love eating chocolates, this is what type of clause?
Independent clause, sir.
Yeah, because it conveys the entire meaning. Okay. Dependent clause would be what? Let's say, when I grow up, I want to be a doctor, for example. Okay. So here it's a dependent clause here in this particular case, right? So you need to combine them with the independent clause. So one is when I grow up, the second clause, obviously, I want to be a doctor. So clauses, when we talk about clauses, these are the two things. And then, of course, there is you combine the clauses, right? Basically, to make the sentence
sir.
complete. Yes.
Excuse me, sir. Clause only two type of clause. Only two type of clause, sir.
Yeah. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. That is the thing here. So we'll just keep it basic here in this case. So two clauses here, dependent and independent clauses, is what we are talking about. They are the dependent clauses are also known as subordinate clauses. That's the difference. So here in this case, when you look at the clauses,
Sir,
you have a
adjective
question?
clause, sir.
Sorry?
Adjective clause and noun clause.
We'll talk about that later. Here I'm giving you an example in terms of basics to understand the punctuation. Okay. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah. The basic type is these two. We can have the clauses that contain adjectives. That's the adjective clause, the noun clauses. That's a different thing altogether. But here you are categorizing it on the basis of on the basis of the like a relative clause. You're categorizing it basis of the parts of speech. I'm talking about the basic structure of a sentence. Okay. So that's different. We can park it for later when we discuss the clauses in detail. Here it's just to introduce the punctuation. So when you look at the two sentences here in this case, okay, Abhay, if you could just be on mute. There's some sound in the background. Yeah. When you look at the sentences here, it says Ram, who is an engineer, works with me. Now here, what are the two clauses in this sentence?
Yes, sir. Who is an engineer is one sentence, sir. Who is an engineer is the subordinate clause. Means it's a dependent clause.
Okay.
Ram works with me. Ram works with me is another clause, I think.
Okay. Anyone else? It's not a subordinate clause. I just mentioned it. So anyone else? What? Tell me in this sentence.
It's a relative
Ram.
clause.
Relative clause. Yes. Ram, who is an engineer, works with me. So that's a relative clause. So this answers your next question about what is the other clauses that we talk about. Okay. So Abhay, this is I was coming to that. Okay. Here, this is Ram, who is an engineer, works with me. So Ram works with me. This information is good enough to convey the meaning. This is what my main clause is. So the main clause is Ram, who works with me, right? Ram works with me is the main clause here. Even if I remove who is an engineer, that does not change the fact that the main meaning that I'm trying to convey or what I'm trying to tell is that Ram works with me. मुझे किसी ने राम के बारे में पूछा, मैंने बताया कि Ram works with me. Now, in this particular case, who is an engineer is an additional information given, right? Which is, Abhay, do you have a question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you have a question?
Sir.
You got it? Okay, yeah. So this is one more thing here we are introducing in terms of the topic, that is punctuation. So when I say Ram works with me, it's a complete sentence in itself. I don't need to mention who is an engineer. It's just that additional information that I'm giving. So whenever you have a relative clause, okay, that begins with who, which, okay, so that building, comma, which was being reconstructed or which was being redeveloped, comma, is now complete. So that building is complete. Okay, just giving you an example, which was in redevelopment or which was being redeveloped or which was whatever. If that is the kind of a clause that you introduce, the relative clause, that's when you use a comma both ways. Why? Because without the comma here, the meaning will not be clear. So this is one of the instances, remember, when you need to use a comma. The exception example is the reason for the exception is, if you read the sentence, there are a number of colleges which are fulfilling their welfare duties. Why we don't need to use a comma here. Why? Anyone? Why? The explanation
Yes,
is given here. Explain in your
in
own
the second
words.
sentence, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Actually, that part is required for the sentence. If we remove it, it doesn't make sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone else has any doubt about why we don't need a comma? Please ask, guys. If you have any questions, please ask. Just give me a minute, guys. I just need to switch on the charger. Basically, just give me a minute, okay? Thank you. Guys, anyone has any question, please feel free to ask. Okay. It's very important that you ask questions if you have any doubt. Some of you must be doing this particular topic for the first time and understanding the usage of commas, clauses. It's fine. If you have a question, please ask. I'm happy to clarify. Okay, so the second part, the reason it's an exception is because as explained, don't use a comma if the clause beginning with who, which is necessary to understand the meaning. ये बहुत ही सिंपल तरीके से एक्सप्लेन किया और बहुत अच्छे तरीके से एक्सप्लेन किया. द फर्स्ट एग्जांपल इज एन एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन. वो जरूरी नहीं है इंफॉर्मेशन देना. हु इज एन इंजीनियर व्हिच इज बीइंग रीडेवलप्ड फॉर एग्जांपल. ओके, सो जब भी आप कोई सेंटेंस में अगर एक क्लॉज इंक्लूड करते हो जहां पर द रिलेटिव क्लॉज है और कुछ ऐसी इंफॉर्मेशन है जो एक्स्ट्रा इंफॉर्मेशन है व्हिच इज not necessarily needed, you use the comma. Okay, when there is a sentence which is important to convey the meaning, here there are a number of colleges which are fulfilling their welfare duties admirably in a very nice way. Okay, something that needs to be appreciated. So in this sentence, I am not giving any additional information about the colleges. Like in the first sentence, I'm giving additional information about Ram. What is that additional information? Is his profession. That is, he's an engineer. In the second sentence, I am not giving any additional information. Okay, if this particular same sentence, okay, I were to include additional information, my sentence could have been, there are a number of colleges which are, let's say, comma, that are, okay, give me a minute, I will type it here.
Sir, can we say like the context decides whether the sentence is important or not? Can we say like that, sir?
Yes, the context determines. No, the context determines whether the See, context is a part of the conversation. That we don't know whether he said Ram, who is an engineer. We don't know whether it was important for him to know or not. In what context,
Yes,
what
sir,
is
yes,
said. So we don't know that. That depends on
Yes, sir.
what you're, what the situation is basically.
So sometimes it can also be the important for the sentence, no, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes. Yes, it can definitely be important for any given. So let's say, for example, if I were to make a sentence, the same sentence, okay, the colleges, there are a number of colleges, comma, which are run by the government, okay, comma,
are fulfilling.
No, you'll need a different thing, because here in this sentence, give me a minute.
Yeah, are fulfilling their welfare duties and admirable.
You need to use which are fulfilling their duties. There are a number of, or that are fulfilling their duties. Yeah, that's fine. So you can say that there are a number of colleges which are, or that are run by the government, which are fulfilling their duties admirably. Okay, so if there was an additional information about the government, about the colleges, let's say under the trust, run by the government, run by a private entity, then that is something that you can include with the comma, stating that this is an additional information. But in this case, the sentence in itself is what you're trying to convey, is there are a number of colleges doing what? Ask yourself a question. Doing what? Fulfilling their welfare duties admirably. So in this case, that's why you don't need a comma, because the sentence is incomplete without that particular, without that kind of a structure. So that's the two things here. One, in the first sentence, that was an additional information given. In the second sentence, that is not an additional information. That is, in essence, a a particular information that is important, without which the sentence will not be complete. So this is when we understand the usage of comma. Anyone has any question about this slide?
Sir, no, sir. In your example, should we use which 2 times, sir?
I said you can use which and that are run by the government, are fulfilling their duties.
Yeah, simply means we can eliminate which, no, sir, second time. Like,
Yeah, but then you'll need to just give me a minute. I will type the sentence here. I don't know. I'm unable to type the sentence here. Okay, there are. No, in this case, we don't. You can use which. Okay, I can just use comma in this way. There are a number of colleges, comma, run by the government. Okay, which are fulfilling their duties. Okay, I can say I don't need to use. I don't need to use the relative pronoun in that case. So I can just say it in this particular manner. There are a number of colleges, comma, run by the government, comma, which are fulfilling their duties. I can say that. Okay.
okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Okay, let's continue with the next slide. If no one has any questions, fine. Deepali, go ahead, read the next slide.
Okay, sir. We put period
Period.
at the end of sentence. At the end of indirect questions, we put a question mark.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Question. Simple.
Question.
Yeah.
Question. We put a question mark at the end of direct question. We put a comma between items in a list before or but and or. When we add a clause before and after an additional piece of information.
Okay, thank you. Question, simple hai. Usko itna, you don't have to stress on that word so much. Just read it like this. We put a question mark. Question mark, simple. So we'll put a period or a question mark, right? So we put a period at the end of a sentence and at the end of an indirect question, which is what we just discussed, right? The first part of the slide, of the topic rather. We put a question mark at the end of a direct question. Simple. Direct question, indirect question, embedded question is what we call an indirect question as well, which includes a question in a question or in a particular sentence. Put a comma between these things. Items in a list, okay? Before or, but and or, when we add a clause before and after an additional piece of information. That additional piece of information is something that we call as extra information, which is not necessary for the, to convey the meaning of a sentence. It's just extra information aapne kuch di, then you can use the comma. The example that was given there was, who is an engineer? Ram, who is an engineer, works with me. Second one, where we don't use a comma, is when it's a complete sentence where it's not additional information, it's crucial information pertaining to what you're trying to say. Okay. All right. We'll move to the questions. Just give me a minute. Exercise rather.
Nowadays, it's taking too much time for explanation, no, sir? Because slides are very big.
Yes, the
But
topics.
quiz part is very easy.
Yeah, the quiz part is easy, but some of the topics, the explanation is, and unfortunately, I got a bit delayed, a bit late to start the topic. That's why. But that's fine. So these are the three things. We definitely have another topic on, or maybe we'll see some of the other punctuation marks in this. But that's fine. We'll look at it. If you're not, then we'll do this topic again next time. So let's continue with Mahenil. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please read the next slide, page 5. Sentence complete kijiye. Complete the sentence.
Did not you want to go? That is story yesterday. Question mark.
Read the sentence again. Your voice was not very clear.
Did not you want to go?
Didn't.
didn't you want to go to the story Saturday?
Yeah, very good. Didn't you want to go to the store yesterday? Very good. This needs to have a question mark because didn't you want to go to the store yesterday? क्या आपको कल store नहीं जाना था क्या? That's what the question is.
Yeah.
Clearly, very good. It needs to use a question mark. That is the correct punctuation here in this case. You can continue. Read the next slide.
Sir, I read now.
Page 6.
Is she a singer? Comma. She sure sound professional.
Is she a singer? Is a question mark. That's one sentence. Okay, that's one part of the
sorry,
sentence. Yeah, that's okay.
Sorry,
So
sir.
that's okay. You could have got confused with the thinking there are two different sentences. Yes, they are, but it's the speaker is first asking a question. Is she a singer? Like someone is singing, and you feel that person is probably a professional because they're singing so well. It happens a lot of times, right? When we hear someone sing, I think that probably a professional singer because they sing so well. So is she a singer? Question mark. She sure sounds professional. Okay. Basically, it means she sounds very professional, extremely professional. She sounds like a professional singer, is what the speaker is stating. Okay. Thank you. Let's continue. Deepika, can you hear me? Deepika, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Go ahead. Read the next slide.
Punctuation marker. He asked me where.
Read it clearly. I'm unable to hear you. जोर से पढ़िए.
He asked me where all the university students had
Absconded.
absconded to.
यहाँ पे क्या आएगा? Question mark या full stop?
Sir, question mark.
Question mark नहीं आएगा ना ये.
Full stop.
Yeah, ये एक statement है. This cannot be a. Which this is not a. This is an embedded question. मतलब इसके question में basically the question is included in a statement. तो इसलिए हम इसको embedded question कहते हैं. ये indirect question है basically. यहाँ पर you don't need to use.
Confused where से हो गया where all the university.
That's fine. लेकिन उसके पहले एक introductory phrase दिया है ना.
He asked me.
क्या है वो introductory phrase? That phrase is he asked me.
He asked me.
So कभी भी that hint, the clue for you is whenever for everyone is whenever there is a introductory phrase given, you understand that it's more of a statement than a question. So if this इसको दीपिका अगर इसको हमको if you want to change this to a direct question, आपका सवाल क्या होगा?
Direct में sir.
Yes. Without changing the meaning, of course. इस सेंटेंस का मतलब क्या है? स्पीकर क्या पूछ रहा है?
He asked me.
मैं आपसे पूछ रहा हूं इस क्वेश्चन का मतलब क्या है? मीनिंग क्या है इस क्वेश्चन का? जो ये स्टेटमेंट दिया हुआ है यहाँ पर, इसका मीनिंग क्या है? अपने सिंपल टर्म्स में बताइए. He asked me where all the university students had absconded to. इस सेंटेंस का मतलब क्या है?
Absconded का मीनिंग नहीं पता सर.
कोई बात नहीं. That's fine. Anyone? What is the meaning of abscond?
Sir, to run away, sir.
Yeah, to run away. हम क्लास बंक की होगी सबने. I mean, most of us must have bunked.
Sir,
yeah.
Absconded means in Hindi फरार में.
फरार हो जाना, भाग जाना, basically. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
See, a lot of times, even in professional environment, like office छोड़ दिया आपने notice period दिए बगैर, तो उसको क्या mark होता है? You are marked absconded. Why? Because you did not inform the company and you did not serve your notice period. You did not put down your papers. Basically, आपने company छोड़ दी बिना बताए, absconding. Okay. ये so when the companies do background verification, they ask the other company. जो company आपका background verification करती है वो पूछती है कि क्या हुआ? Basically, what is the status? What was the status of this particular employee? Then the company will tell them that it's fine, clear. He cleared the put down the papers and was given the relieving letter. But if it is absconded, it's marked as red. So abscond matlab farar ho jana, bhag jana, run away. So if this were to be a direct question, what will be the question?
Actually, I have a doubt, sir. Somewhere actually I read that embedded questions only start with auxiliary verbs. So I have a doubt. Whether this is a declarative sentence or embedded question.
It's an embedded question because there's an introductory phrase and the question is.
Means
See,
we can also
declare,
use
you're
this
talking
with-
about type of sentence. The type of sentence is different. Here we are talking about the question. So here, basically, it can be considered as an embedded question because there is a question. The speaker is trying to inquire what happened, where the students went. So that's why.
Embedded
So-
questions only start with auxiliary verbs, no, sir.
I don't think so. I've never read something like that. It
Means
starts with an
like
introductory
modal verbs are
phrase.
do-
No, where you say in I wonder where all the students had absconded. Then again, it's same introductory phrase. So यहाँ पे, in place of I wonder, I've used he asked me. So that's fine. It's not necessary.
Okay, sir. Okay.
How will you change this sentence into a direct question?
Yes, sir.
Anyone?
Where are all the university students absconded to?
No,
Had absconded to.
no, not clear. Where are you said?
Or where all the university students has absconded to.
No. Place, guys, place. Anyone else?
Where all the students
आप statement आपके start में ही statement है. That cannot be a question. मैं direct question की बात कर रहा हूँ.
the students had absconded to
No, you're making a statement. I'm asking a question. There's a difference. Guys, we're talking about a place. Don't get confused with the sentence which is given here. You can convey this in the least number of possible, in a least number of words without changing the meaning. पूछ क्या रहा है? What is the speaker asking?
Sir, where did all the university students go?
Yeah, exactly. So now if you want to frame a question, forget this statement given here. If you want to frame a question about that, what will you say?
Where did all the university students go?
You need to use the word abscond. I can change the meaning like
abscond.
that. Go to can be,
Where did all the
they could have bunked the class and gone for
Yes,
a
sir.
picnic.
Yes, sir,
Abscond
correct.
is a different meaning.
Where did all the university students abscond?
No. That can be when did all the university students abscond. Okay. Just give me a minute. My system is stuck on that page. Anyone else, guys? How will convert this quickly before we continue?
Sir, okay, all the students where had absconded.
No, that's a statement. आप statement एक sentence की बात कर रहे हो. Okay, I'll come back to this later. Okay, I'm unable to type the sentence here. We'll come back to this. Okay, we'll come back to this once we're done with this. Okay, Karthik, go ahead. Read the next one.
Yes, sir.
Page 8.
I'm so happy. Oh, yeah. It's an exclamatory sentence.
Yeah, right.
I'm so happy. Ends with an exclamation mark.
Absolutely.
I chose wrong option.
Here, the person is expressing what? Enthusiasm, excitement, right?
Strong feeling.
Yeah. Just give me a minute. I'm still on the page. This is the page 8 that you just read, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Probably need to reboot the system. Yeah, it's fine. I am so happy. Yeah. Exclamation mark, of course, because expressing excitement. Okay. So,
Sir, it's a kind of cheating, sir. This exclamation mark is not mentioned in the slides, but they gave in the question.
yeah, but the topic is the topic is what it is. So that's why. Okay. Yeah, let's continue. Who else yet to answer? Priyanka, can you hear me?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. We are discussing the punctuations basically. The next sentence is, there are two sentences, okay? You'll not be able to read this, so that's okay. There are two sentences, I'll read it for you. There are a number of colleges which are fulfilling their welfare duties admirably, okay? there are a number of colleges which are fulfilling their welfare duties admirably. There is a comma after there are a number of colleges in first sentence, and in the second sentence there is no comma. Tell me which sentence is grammatically correct.
Sir, I can't say. It was, I'm unable to get the sentence.
Okay.
Where's the
Sentence is there are a number of colleges, बहुत सारी colleges है, there are a number of colleges which are fulfilling their welfare duties admirably.
I think, sir, no comma.
Excellent, very good. There's no comma here because here the other clause which are fulfilling their welfare duties is a part of the main clause. It's important to convey the meaning. It's not additional information. It gives a complete sense. So absolutely right. There is no need of a comma here in this case. Okay, good. Let's continue. Okay, Pratap, go ahead, answer the next one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Delhi, the capital of India, comma, is where the central government's seats.
Okay.
So what is
Delhi.
this? Seats? Central government seats. I mean.
Yeah, it's correct. Central government sits. Yes, absolutely right. It's correct. जहाँ पर central government बैठती है, where the central government is based out of, it's based out of Delhi. So Delhi, comma, the capital of India is where the central government sits. It's correct. It's called the sitting government, basically the place where the place from where the government functions. Okay. Yeah, I'm able to type the question now. So just going back quickly to that particular sentence, there are two ways of asking this in a direct way. Okay. One is, he asked me where all the university students had absconded to. One of the ways you can ask is, where did all the students abscond? Okay, that is one of the things.
Sir, I said this, sir. I said this.
You said, where did all the students absconded?
No, sir, abscond only. I used base form of verb only.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry then, I missed out. I thought you said absconded. But the other way, the better way of asking this question will be, where have all the students absconded? Specifically about the place. So where have all the students absconded? You can also use to in this case. Okay, where have all the students absconded to? मतलब कहाँ पर abscond होकर गए हैं? That's what it means. So 2 or 3 different ways of asking in a direct manner. Okay, yeah. So if you ask in the first form abscond, it's fine. It's correct. Okay. Okay, anyone who's just joined? Yeah. Utpal, go ahead, read the next slide. Page 11.
Sir, second number is right, sir. And
Read.
it is a
Read the sentence.
The medical college which will have 300 beds will start functioning next year.
कौन सा correct है? Now tell me which is correct, first or second?
Yeah, second number, sir.
Second one is wrong. This is exactly what we discussed. यहाँ पे वो additional information दी है, which will have 300 beds. It is not necessary. वो information जरूरी नहीं है, उसको मैं निकाल सकता हूँ. The medical college will start functioning next year. This is a complete sentence in itself. So वो relative clause जो है इसमें वो है which will have 300 beds. जो important नहीं है. It's just additional information. इसलिए the first sentence is right, not the second one.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay,
यही
sir.
sentence हमने वहाँ discuss किया था. Ram, who is an engineer, works with me. Who is an engineer? Additional information थी. इसकी जरूरत नहीं है. यहाँ पर it's important. It's again similar thing. यहाँ पे you don't need to say which will have 300 beds. वो एक additional information दी है speaker ने, but वो जरूरी नहीं है.
Okay, sir.
That's why the first sentence is grammatically correct. Okay. All right. Z, go ahead. Read the next slide.
Yes, sir. Comma, sir.
Third one is right. The man, comma, who is standing there, comma, is from my paternal relations in the family.
Excellent. Very good. Very good. Who is standing there is additional information given, not necessary. You are just trying to say that the man is from my paternal relations in the family, but so father's side, paternal relation.
Yes,
So it's an additional information given. Very good. Good answer.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Abhay, go ahead. Answer the next one.
Yes, sir. I have a shirt, comma, 2 jeans and a pair of shoes to carry for the Euro trip.
Excellent. Very good.
Second one
Absolutely.
is correct answer.
These are the items in the list. So obviously it's correct. Well done. Comma is the correct answer here. Okay. Mahinel, go ahead. Read the next one. Mahinel, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Full statement, sir. I wonder how
Full
old
stop, sir.
he is. Full
Yeah,
stop, sir.
that's fine.
I
Yeah,
wonder
both.
I wonder how old he is. Full stop, sir.
Full stop. Correct. Absolutely. Here again, it's an embedded question. I wonder how old he is. So basically, what you're asking is how old is he? Okay. Good. Full stop.
Okay.
Absolutely right. Here you don't need to use a question mark.
Okay, sir.
Deepika, go ahead. Answer the next one.
So second one
Yeah.
is right.
Read the sentence.
The mansion was converted into a girls' school.
Okay. Now, what is ये girls जो है word ये plural है या singular है?
ओके ओके नो नो नहीं सर प्लूरल नहीं है सिंगुलर है
Singular कैसे होगा? Girls.
सर अपोस्ट्रोफ ऊपर कोमा जो होता है
नहीं, तो वही मैं पूछ रहा हूँ आपको. गर्ल्स स्कूल जब भी मैं कहता हूँ तो गर्ल्स स्कूल हम कैसे लिखते हैं?